Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're unpacking a story that is deeply emotional, but ultimately, it is just profoundly motivating. We're going to walk through the incredible journey of a young girl named Emily. Now, her narrative touches on some of the heaviest things a person can experience. We're talking loss, poverty, isolation. But it fundamentally transforms into an absolute masterclass on human resilience. So if you've ever needed a reminder of the power of just keeping going, this explainer is absolutely for you. Let's trace her path from deep despair to incredible triumph. Have you ever felt, just completely small or completely forgotten by the world? It's a heavy question, right? But I want you to really think about that for a second. We've all had those moments where the weight of our circumstances just feels entirely overwhelming, where it seems like everyone else is moving forward and we're just stuck, invisible, and hurting. Keep that exact feeling in mind, because that is exactly where our story begins. We're starting at rock bottom, setting a rather somber stage before we dive into Emily's specific, heartbreaking struggles.
Section 1. A cold reality. Life at 14.
Picture this. It's a freezing winter evening in a small American town. Outside Emily's window, families are laughing together, they're playing in the snow, just enjoying the simple warmth of being together. But inside her old, drafty apartment, it was an entirely different universe. The fridge was completely empty. The kitchen table was just covered in stacks of unpaid bills. Her mom was working 2 exhausting jobs, literally just to keep a roof over their heads, and she'd often cry quietly in the kitchen out of pure desperation. 3 years. It had been exactly 3 years since Emily's father passed away, and that loss was really the catalyst for this whole downward spiral. And there's this heartbreaking detail from the source material. At just 14 years old, Emily would regularly pretend she wasn't hungry. She would actually lie to her own mom just so her mother could eat whatever little food they had left. She felt utterly helpless, just lying in bed at night, staring at the ceiling with tears streaming down her face. And as if the struggles at home weren't enough, school was absolutely no refuge. Imagine sitting in class and hearing this. Maybe if your family worked harder, you wouldn't be poor. A boy actually mocked her with those brutal words in front of the entire class. They laughed at her old clothes. They mocked her for not having the newest phone. And when the room erupted in laughter over that incredibly cruel comment, Emily literally ran to the restroom, locked herself in a stall, and sobbed. She was just a kid, constantly wondering why life had to be so profoundly unfair. Every single day was a battle, and every night felt even harder.
Section 2. The Forgotten Notebook, a Spark of Hope.
But right when the darkness felt absolute, a totally mundane evening ended up changing the entire trajectory of her life. Emily was just doing chores, cleaning the apartment, when she stumbled upon something extraordinary. Now, it wasn't money, it wasn't a winning lotto ticket, it was something way more valuable. It belonged to her late father. She opened up the dusty cover, and there, waiting for her across time and space, was a handwritten message from the past. Just imagine the tension, that sudden rush of emotion, holding the handwriting of the dad she lost 3 years ago, right in the middle of her darkest chapter. In his very familiar handwriting, the words read, "Emily, if you're reading this one day, remember something important. Life will knock you down. People will doubt you. There will be days when you feel like quitting, but never let your circumstances decide your future. The strongest people are not those who never fall, they are the ones who keep getting back up." Emily read those words again and again, and suddenly, for the first time in months, that crushing feeling of helplessness just lifted. It was replaced by this undeniable, sudden spark of hope. Section 3. The Path of Resistance, the Execution. Okay, let's really dive into this. Because inspiration is great, right? But execution is everything. That very night, Emily made a hard, concrete decision to stop feeling sorry for herself. She was going to fight for her future, no matter what it took. And this wasn't just some passive wish. This became a daily, grueling grind. Emily started studying harder than ever. While other kids were glued to the TV, she was reading books. While everyone else slept in, she was up before the sun. She couldn't afford a tutor, so what'd she do? She borrowed stacks of library books. She watched free educational videos online. She practiced every single day. She literally rewired her daily habits to build a ladder straight out of her circumstances. Now, I want to be clear here. This wasn't some Hollywood movie montage where everything goes perfectly. The hardships didn't just magically disappear. She still failed tests. She still made mistakes. She still had these intense moments of discouragement where she just wanted to throw her hands up and say, "I'm done." But every single time she felt that overwhelming urge to quit, she opened her father's notebook. That handwritten message became her anchor. It physically stopped her from throwing in the towel and forced her to keep moving forward.
Section 4. 10 years later,
The return.
The years passed, and man, did her relentless dedication compound. Think about it. At age 14, a bullied, starving girl finds a notebook. By the end of high school, against all odds, she graduated at the absolute top of her class and earned a full scholarship to a great university. And the source notes this incredibly beautiful detail here. When that acceptance letter arrived, her mother cried again. But for the very first time, they weren't tears of pain or stress over unpaid bills. They were tears of pure, unadulterated happiness. Fast forward 10 years later, Emily didn't just survive, she thrived. She became a highly successful entrepreneur, specifically building a company designed to help young people achieve their dreams.
Section 5. Your best days ahead. Which brings Emily's journey right back to us. Picture Emily today, standing on a massive stage, looking out at a crowd of hundreds of students. As she looked at them, she saw herself. She remembered the little girl who cried herself to sleep, the girl who was bullied, the girl who felt completely hopeless. But she wasn't that girl anymore. She smiled at the crowd and delivered a message that perfectly mirrored her dad's words. She said, "Never let your hardships become your excuse. Let them become your motivation." She knew people in that audience were struggling, feeling invisible, or doubted. But she is living proof that if you keep moving forward, if you keep learning, you can completely flip the narrative.
So, what should we all take away from Emily's journey? First off, your struggles do not define you. Second, your past, no matter how painful or impoverished, absolutely does not control your future. And third, success doesn't always belong to the smartest or the most talented people in the room. It almost always belongs to the people who simply refuse to give up. This matters so much, especially if you're sitting there right now feeling invisible or doubting your own potential.
We're going to leave you with this final thought. Just like Emily said, your current situation is not your final destination. You hold the pen. You are writing the very next chapter. So I have to ask you, what will you do with your struggles today? Are you going to let them be your excuse, or will you let them become your ultimate motivation? Keep working, never quit, and remember, your best days are still ahead. Thanks so much for joining me for this explainer.